Hello folks, this is Apollos, and in this video I'd like to share some thoughts with you regarding the recent, albeit not so recent, discussion about atheism. What is atheism? What does atheism mean? Over the years I've actually talked about this topic on various occasions. I'll post the links below if you're curious to see all those videos and see how it's transpired or not transpired over the years. Back in 2008, I actually did a survey, and one of the questions in the survey was, what does atheism mean to you? What does it mean to be an atheist? And there was about 190 some replies to that question. And the results were, it was different. Some people said atheism was the belief there is no God or gods. Some people said a lack of belief in God or gods. Some people said it's the default position. It's the null hypothesis. And even when people expressed similar ideas, they conveyed them using words in a unique way. There was a difference, and it showed that it gave this indication that the way in which people are using the words and expressing atheism, what it means to them, is in some cases a response to the sort of interactions that they've had or have heard about regarding religious apologetics. Let me give you an example. So when an atheist says, I lack a belief in gods, or God, when they say that I am of the default position, oftentimes what gets tossed into that language game is also this concept of the default position. Is also this concept of the burden of proof. So it usually gets played out like this. I lack the belief. I'm of the default position. You're the theist. You're the Christian. You've moved beyond the default position, which requires evidence. And if you expect for me to move beyond my default position, the burden of proof is on you. For those that emphasize more of the lack of belief perspective, they will say, I am not making the positive claim, a positive assertion. You are, because you're the Christian, you're the religious person, so the burden of proof is on you. You're the one making the positive claim, so you're the one who is required to supply the evidence. There's a lot of problems with this line of reasoning. In my opinion, it doesn't work out very well. But it's a very clever language game that's being played. And essentially, there's been this structure of language that's been created and that is using language in a very unique and peculiar way that is almost exclusive to atheists. Atheists who use these sorts of expressions, and it's preemptive. It's a preemptive approach to religious apologetics, either apologetics that they've heard about or perhaps even themselves have encountered, and so they from the outset shift the strength of the discussion towards themselves and make the conversation more difficult and weighty, if I could, use that idea, on the religious person. And they do this by defining the language, by creating the game, so that if you want to interact, you have to begin, you are essentially, everything is placed on you. And it essentially, in some ways, eliminates that person even from having to seriously consider their position. It eliminates that person from having to seriously consider their philosophical position, because they've simply made these sort of assertions about where they stand. It's the default position. It's the lack of belief. So you need to do all the work. You're the person out there making the positive claims, assertions. You have to do all the work. You have to do all the reasoning. You have to explain what evidence is and all these sorts of things. And then when you present it to me, I'm going to dismiss it. But then what happens is when they dismiss it, they end up making positive claims, because they're making positive claims about a philosophical framework of which they don't usually project from the outset of the language game that they're playing. So it's a very clever game that gets played by some of these individuals. There is a way of responding to it. But I think that by and large, it's just good. You acknowledge it, you see it for what it is, and you try to move past it. And there is a way to move past it. It's very simple, actually, to sort of escape that sort of language game and move beyond those expressions of lack of belief or default position. most of my conversations, I'm thinking 99% of the conversations I've had with atheists in real life have been able to move forward beyond those sorts of ways of expressing atheism, because the conversation doesn't depend upon those sorts of expressions. We already understand that they don't have the beliefs that I have, and I don't have the beliefs that they have. And so then from that point, we can actually focus on more meaningful topics, such as what is evidence? What are the different ways that we can talk about evidence? Why is one understanding or one form of evidence perhaps more superior than another? What does it mean to have good reasons to believe in something? These are actually far more meaningful questions to look at, which unfortunately here on YouTube don't happen all that frequently. And when they do happen, they're not always that popular. But anyways, just my 2 cents in the conversation. Like I said, links below to all those old videos in the past. You can see everything that's going on. If you'd like to chime in to stuff that I post up on Facebook, it's Together for Peace. Also on Tumblr, TogetherForPeace.com. And I do drop by on Blog TV. Links all below. If you do want to have a conversation, you're interested in maybe doing a video discussion on Blog TV sometime, just hit me up. I'd love to chat with anyone. Y'all take care. Peace.